Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandava Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hari Bol to Ramchandra Prabhu, Vishwanath Prabhu, Pawan Prabhuji and Aarti Mataji for facilitating the chanting today. We'll start with Mangalacharan and our single Vaishnava bhajan and then continue with the reading of teachings of Lord Kapila. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, we're continuing with our new bhajan today on the theme of remembering and glorifying Lord Chaitanya. So today's bhajan is Gaurangira Duti Pada, the two lotus feet of Lord Gauranga. This is by Shri Narottam Das Thakur from Prarthana. This is sung in the same melody as Vrindavan Ramyasthana. So I'll sing and then we'll read the translation. Gaurangira Duti Pada Jaradhana Sampada Sejane Bhakati Rasa Sara Gaurangira Duti Pada Jaradhana Sampada Sejane Bhakati Rasa Sara Gaurangira Madhura Leela Jara Karne Praveshila Hridaya Nirmala Bhelo Tara Jai Gaurangira Namaloy Tara Hoy Premodaya Tare Moi Jai Boli Hari Gauranga Gunite Jure Nitya Leela Tare Spure Sejana Bhakati Adhikari Gaurangira Sangi Gane Nitya Sedha Kori Mane Sejaya Brajendra Sutta Pasha Shri Gauda Mandala Bhumi Jeva Jane Chintamani Tara Hoy Braja Bhumi Basa Gaura Prema Rasarnave Shetarange Jeva Dube Se Radha Madhava Anta Ranga Grihe Bhavani Te Thake Agauranga Bole Dake Narottama Mage Tara Sangha Gaurangira Duti Pada Jaradhana Sampada Sejane Bhakati Rasa Sara Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prarthana ki jai, Gauranga Duti Pada ki jai, Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody would like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I can read.
Yes, Meenu Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone who has accepted the two lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya can understand the true essence of devotional service. If one is captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the dirty things in his heart will all become cleansed. One who simply takes the holy name of Gaura Sundara, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, will immediately develop love of God. To such a person I say, bravo, very nice, excellent. If one appreciates the merciful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and feels ecstasy and sometimes cries. This process will immediately help him to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha Krishna. Simply by understanding the associates of Lord Gauranga are eternally free from material contamination, one can immediately be promoted to the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna. If one simply understands that the land of Navadipa is not different from Vrindavan, then he actually lives in Vrindavan. If one says, "Let me dive deep into the waves of the nectarian ocean of the transcendental, loving movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya," he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. It does not matter whether one is a householder living at home or vanaprastha or sannyasi living in a forest. If he chants O Gauranga and becomes a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, then Narottam Dasa begs to have his association. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hey Krishna, thank you. Anything you liked from this bhajan?
Prabhuji, the very first line, um, second line, sorry, where it says Bhakti Rasa Sar. So Sar is the summary, right? So I was listening to one of the lectures, and it was a very good example given that all the Vedas are like the rice paddy fields. It's a vast knowledge. We need rice for feeding our body and nourish our body, but we can't eat unhusked rice. So, like Bhagavad Gita is, or these small scriptures, they have become like the husked rice, which have been unhusked, and they're ready to be. They're bread, and we can't eat unhusked rice either, right? So we still have to boil and do the process. So all these commentaries have become like the Vedas are the paddy fields, and Bhagavad Gita and small scriptures are the boiled rice that are being served to us. But still, we don't like plain rice. So what these acharyas have done, whether it's Narottam Das Thakur or whether it's Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, or Srila Prabhupada, what they have done is added spice to the life, added spice to these commentaries, made it easier and more palatable to us. All we have to do, it's served on a golden platter to us. All we have to do is consume it, but we have to do the work of chewing them. So if we know the process, if we recognize the platter is in front of us, that all we have to do is chew it, we should put in that much effort to us. So that's what the sar kind of represented here. The sar is given to us, but how we take it, how we consume it is all upon us. So thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Yes, rightly touched upon that, and yes, like we read yesterday, and this we were reading the chapter of approaching a bona fide spiritual master, approaching a bona fide guru, in teachings of Lord Kapil Dev, and as Srila Prabhupada is talking about, who's a true guru, who's a bona fide guru, one who has listened to these, listened to the Vedas, listened to the instructions of the scriptures from the predecessor acharyas, and who is fully dedicated to serving the instructions, serving the Lord and serving the predecessor acharyas. So they are true guru. And yes, like you said rightly, they have come, and because if we read the Vedas, we will only be bewildered, right? Even if you read scriptures, even Bhagavad Gita, if you read just by your own, you will not be able to understand. Many of them, many devotees have had that experience. Like when they try to read Bhagavad Gita, even Bhagavad Gita as it is, without taking association of a devotee, they were not able to understand. So that's why the acharyas, their Vani, we have to take Sangha, we have to take Sadhu Sangha, we have to just hear, like we've been talking about Shravanam. When we hear from the sadhus and from the pure devotees of the Lord, then it becomes very clear. The essence becomes very clear. Otherwise, we get lost, because it's like, sometimes you have to take a direction, like the GPS will say, take a left, take a right, here, right? So exactly, the acharyas will tell us exactly where to take a left and how much to take a left and how much to take a right, right? Otherwise, Otherwise, you may, just by reading scriptures by yourself, you get confused. So that's the mercy of the acharyas. Okay, thank you so much. So let's continue with our reading of teachings of Lord Kapila. So yesterday we completed chapter 4 on the chapter of how to approach a bona fide guru. And again, the mood should not be just to take initiation for the sake of taking initiation, unless one is really serious to understand the science of Krishna consciousness, science of devotional service. So we should not approach a spiritual master just for some name, fame, just for some fashion, right? Only if we are really sincerely genuine, then otherwise Prabhupada is saying our time and our life both will be wasted, and we should surrender and serve the spiritual master with full reverence, and then we can take instructions from the spiritual master. Okay, so let's read chapter 5. Lord Kapila takes charge of his mother Devahuti. Text 5. Maitreya uvacha pitari prasthite ranyam matu priya chikirshaya tasmin bindu sare vatsit Bhagavan Kapilah kila. Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother Devahuti. In the absence of the father, it is the duty of the grown son to take charge of his mother and serve her to the best of his ability so that she will not feel separation from her husband. It is also the duty of the husband to leave home as soon as there is a grown son to take charge of his wife and family affairs. That is the Vedic system of household life. One should not remain continually implicated in household affairs up to the time of death. He must leave. Family affairs and the wife may be taken charge of by a grown son. Being a great yogi, Kardama Muni was not very interested in family life. Nonetheless, he decided to marry, and Swayambhuva Manu brought his daughter Devahuti to him to serve as a wife. Kardama Muni was a yogi living in a cottage, and Devahuti was a princess, a king's daughter. Not being used to work, she became very skinny, and Kardama Muni took compassion upon her, thinking, this girl has come to me, but now she is not in a very comfortable position. Therefore, by his yogic powers, Kardama Muni created a large palace with many servants, gardens and other opulences. Not only that, but he also created a great spaceship as large as a small city. Modern airlines have prepared it 747, and although these are very big, Kardama Muni by his yogi powers was able to create a spaceship wherein there were lakes, palaces and gardens. This spaceship could also travel all over the universe. Modern scientists labor very hard to make a small spaceship to go to the moon, but Kardama Muni could create a great spaceship that could travel to all the planets. This is possible by yogic powers. There are different siddhis or yogic perfections, anima, lagima, prapti and so on, and whatever yogis choose to do, they can do. That is the real yoga system. It is not that one becomes a yogi simply by pressing his nose and performing some gymnastics. One must actually attain the yogic siddhis. By these siddhis, the yogi can become very small or very large, very heavy or very light. Whatever he wants, he can immediately produce in his hand, and he can travel wherever he desires. Kardama Muni was such a perfected siddhi yogi. By his wife, Devahuti, he had 9 daughters, who were distributed to the Prajapatis like Daksha Maharaj and many others. The only son of Kardama Muni was Kapil Dev, an incarnation of Sri Krishna. This Kapil Dev was one of the Mahajans. The word Mahajan means authority, and according to the Vedic Shastras, there are 12 authorities. These are Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad, Janak, Bhishma, Bali, Shukadev Goswami and Yamaraj. Swayambhu is Brahma and Shambhu is Lord Shiva. These authorities should be followed if we want to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead and understand the purpose of religious life. Mahajano yena gata sapantaha. These Mahajanas follow the principles set forth by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. We cannot very easily understand the actual truth of religious systems, but if we follow these Mahajans, we can understand. Kapila Muni explained the glories of devotional service to his mother Devahuti. If we follow him, we may learn the truth of devotional service. According According to the system of Varnashrama Dharma, one who is over 50 years of age must leave home, go to the forest, and completely devote his life to spiritual realization. This is the actual Varnashrama Dharma system. It is not a Hindu system, for the word Hindu is a name given by the Muslims and does not occur in any Vedic literature. However, the Varnashrama Dharma is mentioned. Civilized human beings should strictly follow the Varnashrama institution. If one is born a Brahmana, he is trained nicely as a brahmachari, and then he becomes a grihastha, a householder. When he gives up his home, he is called a vanaprastha, and after that he may take sannyas. Being a yogi, Kardama Muni strictly followed these principles. Therefore, as soon as Kapil Dev was grown, Devahuti was placed in his charge. Kardama Muni then left home. As stated in this verse, Pitari Pratishthe Ranyam Matu Priya Chikirshaya. According to the Manu Samhita, a woman should never be given freedom. When she is not under the protection of her husband, she must be under the protection of her sons. Women cannot properly utilize freedom, and it is better for them to remain dependent. A woman cannot be happy if she is independent. That is a fact. In Western countries, we have seen many women very unhappy simply for the sake of independence. That independence is not recommended by the Vedic civilization or by the Varnashrama Dharma. Consequently, Devahuti was given to her grown son Kapil Dev, and Kapil Dev was fully aware that he had to take care of his mother. It is the duty of the father to protect his daughter until she attains puberty and is married to a suitable young man. The husband then takes care of the wife. Generally, a man should marry at around 25 years of age, and a girl should marry no later than 16. If this is the case, when the man is 50 years old, his eldest son should be around 25, old enough to take charge of the mother. According to this calculation, Kapil Dev was about 25 years old and was quite able to take charge of his mother Devahuti. He knew that because his father left his mother in his charge, he should take care of her and always please her. Matu Priya Chikirshaya. Kapil Dev was not irresponsible, but was always ready to please his mother. Kapil Dev was a brahmachari, and his mother took lessons from him. That is the prerogative of the male, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9.32. Mam hi partha vrapashritya yepi syu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti paramgatim. O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, as well as Shudras, can approach the supreme destination. Women are considered on the same platform with Shudras, and although a woman may be married to a Brahmana, she is not given the sacred thread. It is also said that the Mahabharata was compiled by Vyasadeva because the direct Vedic knowledge could not be understood by women, Shudras, and Dvijabandhus, those who are born in the Brahmana families but are not qualified Brahmanas. Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4.25. Consequently, Mahabharata is called the fifth Veda. The four preceding Vedas are the Sam Veda, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva. The essence of Vedic knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, is given within the Mahabharata. Women are inferior to men, and Vedic civilization is so perfect that men are given full charge of the women. It is therefore said, Matu Priya Chikirshaya. The son is always ready to see that the mother is not unhappy. Kapil Dev was anxious that his mother not feel the absence of his father, and he was ready to take the best care of her and give her knowledge. Because women are supposed to be less intelligent, they should be given knowledge, and they should also follow this knowledge. They should follow their father's instructions, their husband's instructions, and the instructions of their grown, scholarly sons like Kapil Dev. In this way, their lives can be perfect. In all cases, women should always remain dependent. Tasmin bindu sare vatsid Bhagwan Kapila Kila. It is noteworthy that in this verse, Kapil Dev is referred to as Bhagavan, which indicates that he possesses all wealth, fame, knowledge, beauty, strength, and renunciation. These six opulences are fully represented in Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, and others are accepted as his expansions or incarnations, Vishnu Tattva. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has analyzed the characteristics of Bhagavan. The first Bhagavan is Sri Krishna himself, but some of his opulences are also bestowed upon Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is a Jiva Tattva, a living being like us. If we become spiritually powerful, we can also have the post of Lord Brahma. Superior to Lord Brahma is Lord Shiva, and superior to Lord Shiva is Vishnu. or Lord Narayana, and superior to all is Krishna. That is the analysis of the Vedic Shastras and the Brahma Samhita. Even Shankaracharya, the Mayavadi impersonalist philosopher, accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sa Bhagavan Swayam Krishnaha. All the Acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Kapila Dev is an incarnation of Krishna, and he gave instructions to his mother Devahuti. We must distinguish between the two Kapilas. One Kapila is this Bhagwan Kapila, and the other Kapila is the atheist Kapila. Bhagwan Kapila is also known as Devahuti Putra Kapila. Both Kapilas expounded Sankhya philosophy, but the atheist Kapila expounded it without understanding, perception, or realization of God. On the bank of the Bindu Sarovar lake, Kapil Dev personally expounded Sankhya philosophy to his mother, Devahuti, just as Krishna personally expounded the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to his friend Arjuna. Like Arjuna, Devahuti was aware that she was before her spiritual master, as indicated in the following verse. Indeed, Lord Brahma had informed her that her son was a powerful incarnation. Text 6. Tam ashinam akarmanam tattvamarga gradarshanam swasutam devahutyaha dhatu samsmarati vachaha. When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows. The ultimate goal of the absolute truth is Krishna consciousness, devotional service. The liberated stage is not final. If we simply understand that we are not the body, that we are the spirit soul, our knowledge is insufficient. We must also act as Brahman, then our position will be fixed. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that sense, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Bhakti is obtainable for a liberated person. It is not for the conditioned soul. How is this possible? In Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Krishna says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatittaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. We must engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, the first of which is hearing, Shravana. Then, under the direction of the spiritual master and the Shastras, one can immediately become a liberated person. One doesn't have to endeavor separately to become liberated if he immediately engages in devotional service. One must have a firm conviction that he is engaged in Krishna's service and is free from all material contamination. This is imperative. The words Tattva Margagra Darshanam are elucidated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. The absolute truth is understood differently according to the position of the student. Some understand the absolute truth as impersonal Brahman, some as localized Paramatma, and others as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna or Vishnu. Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are not different. They are simply different aspects of the complete Godhead. Looking at a mountain from a distance, we may see a hazy cloud, and if we come nearer, we may see something green. If we actually climb the mountain, we will find many houses, trees and animals. Our vision is of the same mountain, but due to our different positions, we see haze, greenery or variegatedness. In the final stage, there are varieties, trees, animals, men, houses and so on. The absolute truth is not without variety. Just as there is material variety, there is spiritual variety. Because the Mayavadi philosophers are seeing the absolute truth from a distance, they think that the absolute truth has no variety. They consider variety to be material, but this is a misunderstanding. The absolute truth is described as variegated in Brahma Samhita 5.29. Chintamani prakarasad mashukalpa vriksha lakshavrateshu surabhira vipalayantam Lakshmi sahasrashata sambrama sevyamanam Govindamadipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending cows, fulfilling all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of desired trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. There are Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual world, and there are devotees who are all liberated. These devotees are Akshara, which means they do not fall down into the material world. They remain in the spiritual world of the Vaikunthas. They are also persons like us, but they are eternal persons, complete with full knowledge and bliss. That is the difference between them and us. That is Tattva Jnana. Unless we understand the variegatedness of the absolute truth, there is a chance that we will fall down. It is not sufficient simply to stick to the indefinite, impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Okay, we'll pause here. Yes. So again, so many wonderful teachings from today's reading. The first thing here that Prabhupada was talking about, the differences between different forms of different realizations of the same Lord as Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and the analogy that Prabhupada is giving about when we are driving in the car here in America, we can see many mountains in distance, but as we get closer, yes, we can see the vegetation, and we can see some more features of the mountain. And then when we actually climb the mountain, when we can see even more, there might be small insects, trees, birds, other species of life, etc. So like that, another example, another analogy Prabhupada gives is the oncoming train, right? Sometimes when we see the train from a distance, we only see the light of the train coming, right? So that is like the Brahman. But then if the train comes nearer, as it comes nearer, then we see the engine, right? So that's the engine, and then we see the train. So that's like a Paramatma. And then, but actually when the train comes to the station, then we see there are a lot of people inside. There's a driver, who's actually driving the train, right? So like that. So that is the personal realization of the Lord. So same thing with the sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun deity, right? It's the same thing, same analogy Prabhupada gives. The sunshine is like the Brahman. The sun disk that we see is like the Paramatma. But there is also a deity, there is also a sun god, right? So that is like the Bhagavan. So so wonderful examples to understand this Vedic knowledge. And like we started today's reading with Mataji's example, that we cannot understand, even though we have all these Vedas, even though we have all these scriptures, we cannot understand this just by our own accord, by our own thinking that we are intelligent, we are materially educated, and we can just read these books and understand. No, just even in material education, you cannot just read medical books and become a doctor, right? You have to go to a university and take shelter of a bona fide, authorized, accredited university and professor. Then we learn from them, take instructions from them, take practical, because one is Gyan, which is just knowledge, other is realized knowledge, Vigyan, right? So by taking instructions from a bona fide teacher, we understand medical science. So similarly, only by taking instructions from a bona fide acharya, we can understand the purports, the deeper meanings of the scriptures. So that is why taking shelter of a guru is very, very important. And not just any guru, because there are many bogus gurus in the market, but a bona fide guru coming in the parampara from Sri Vyasadeva, who is the original literary incarnation of Sri Krishna. So anybody coming from the bona fide parampara, they are bona fide, and we also have to see that they are following the acharyas, are following thereby they are following the instructions of the predecessor acharyas and the shastra. So that was the thing that we were talking yesterday of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Guru is, of course, our spiritual master. There can be Diksha Guru, one Diksha Guru, and there can be many Siksha Gurus. And then Sadhus, of course, other pure devotees, Vaishnavas, who are Siddhas, who are self-realized. So those are Sadhus. And then Shastra, taking. So ultimately Shastra that we read have to be under the shelter of Guru and Sadhu. And yes, and then here at the end, Prabhupada is talking about how Govinda is the original personality of God, and Krishna is the Bhagavan Swayam, Govindam Adipurusham Tamam Bhajami. As Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, all of these are Mahajans, and we should follow them. And so their instructions are also, they are saying that Krishna is the Bhagavan Swayam, and Govindam Adipurusham Tamam Bhajami. Even Shankaracharya, who is impersonalist, Mayavadi, preacher, he also came to that conclusion, right? Bhaja Govinda, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamate. So Prabhupada is saying that all these are Mahajans, the Acharyas, and we should follow their instructions. And sometimes again we become proud and we think that we have become very advanced. Yesterday I was talking to one devotee and he was saying that as nowadays, as soon as people become initiated, they think that they become very advanced, right? So as soon as we have that thought, that is the beginning of our fall down. So we should never be proud that I have been in the community I've served in the community for 10 years, 20 years, or now I become initiated, right? So because Krishna only needs our bhav, right? And Gauranga, Lord Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also teaches by his own personal example when he was told by his spiritual master Ishwar Puri that Ishwar Puri actually wrote Krishna Charitamrita, and he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Nimai Pandit, he was very scholarly, that you please edit this and correct any grammatical errors. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, that time he just returned it as it is back to his Guru Maharaj, and he said, because Krishna, the Lord, doesn't look at grammar. Just as we also sing these bhajans and we say the same thing, right? Nobody, even though we are not perfectly pronouncing it, we are making some mistakes in pronunciation, in grammar, that is not important. The Lord doesn't look at the grammar. The Lord doesn't look at pronunciation. So Mahaprabhu tells to his Guru Maharaj that I am unqualified and the Lord is not looking at the grammar, right? So he's only looking at bhav. So that's why we call him as Bhavgrahi Janardhan. So that is also one pastime of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Gaura Leela, of how the Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. So again, if we have pride, again, these are all anarthas, right? Kam, Krodha, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya, these are all anarthas. So we have to cleanse these anarthas, and that can only be done by chanting the holy names. So we have to chant, whether it be in japa or in kirtan. The more we chant, the more we purify our heart, and only with a purified heart we can approach the Lord. Because we see here in this Govinda Mahadipurusham, Brahma Samhita, Prabhupada is explaining that how many, there are thousands, hundreds and thousands, not just one, right? There's hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune. So first of all, we are unqualified to serve. And then even if we are qualified to serve, the Lord doesn't need our service. He already has hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune to serve him. Why does he need our service, right? He only needs service from his pure devotees. So our goal is to become a pure devotee, not just become proud that, I'm doing this, I'm doing XYZ, I'm doing 10 things, I'm doing 20 things. If that is there, then that is not what the Lord cares for. So our goal is to become more humbler than a blade of grass. Right? When we become that, then we can able to chant the holy names continuously. And only when we are able to chant the holy names continuously, then we are able to become purified. Only when we are able to become fully purified, then we have our passport to go back home, back to Godhead. Only then we have the entry ticket to go back home. Otherwise, the doors are closed, right? So the Lord opens the doors out of His mercy. So even this chanting, again, we should not be proud that, I'm able to chant. Like we say, in a very humble mood, we should chant that, oh Lord, thank you for giving me this mercy, because only with your mercy we are able to chant these holy names. Because otherwise, if we see, like we say, again, we are seeing the news every day. It's been going on for the last 2-3 weeks now. The wars in Iran and Israel, US, and all the countries, kind of everybody is at war. Russia, Ukraine, already going on for many years now. Right? So it's all this turmoil that's going on in the world. We are sitting peacefully in our homes. And yesterday night there was heavy rain and thunder and downpour, and still we are protected under the shelter of the Lord and the Acharyas. So we are able to sit and chant. This is mercy, right? This is mercy. This is kripa. So we should not take this lightly. Without, because we say, like, and the perfect way to chant is, again Prabhupada explains, and as it's explained, that mano madhye sthite mantro, mantra madhye sthite manaha, mano mantra samayuktam, etadhi japalakshanam. So our mind should be absorbed fully in the mantra, and our mantra should be absorbed fully in the mind. And when that happens, when the connection of the mantra and the mind is there, then that is the characteristic of the ideal japa. So again, if you see there, how do we to some extent we can control the mind. Like Arjuna tells Krishna, mind is so difficult to control. But if we know, like as soon as we chant, our mind will wander. But if we try to control the mind with our higher intelligence, then it is possible. But it takes a lot of practice. And so yeah, mind we can little bit we can try to control. But so you can put the mind in the mantra. But can you put the mantra in the mind? Again, yes, physically we are trying to do that. We are trying to chant and we are trying to absorb. But it's kind of very peculiar, right? How do you put the mantra in the mind? So again, mantra, if you say Krishna and Krishna's Naam are non-different. So Abhinnatam Nama Namino. So mantra is actually the Lord himself. How can we control the Lord, right? The Lord will control himself. He is the supreme controller. So unless until he gives us mercy, we cannot control him. We cannot control the mantra and put it in our mind. So it is only by the mercy of the Lord that the mantra will go into the mind. And ultimately this whole japa, this whole kirtan that Mahaprabhu gave us is basically to cleanse our heart, right? So cleanse our heart, cleanse our mind. So when we chant with our tongue the mantra and we hear attentively, then it goes through our ear pathway, and ultimately the destination is the mind. So this is a tripod. This is a very nice explanation given by Hari Parshad Prabhu in one of the kathas. He says that this tripod of the tongue, the ear and the mind, it should be aligned. And ultimately the tongue chants, that is the originator of the mantra, it chants. The ear is kind of the middle pathway, right? And then the mind is the ultimate destination. So if the mantra is able to reach the mind, then that is a perfect japa, and that is a perfect kirtan. So that should be our goal. Amrendra Prabhu also says in one katha, I was hearing Hari Katha, he was saying, like when we chant this mantra, the tulsi bead on which we are chanting, that is the mani, right? The mani, the mantra that we are chanting, and the mana. Again, there are three things here: the mani, mantra, and mana. All three have to be aligned, right? So we have to see when we are chanting on our mani, and we are reciting the mantra, and we are attentively hearing the mantra, and we are absorbing our mind in the mantra, right? Then that is perfect. So again, it's a very, very deep science, but it is made very, very easy when we follow the instructions of our acharyas. So the acharyas have given this, and the current Guru Varga have been teaching us by their personal example. So we just have to follow their instructions, and with practice, with utsaha, nishchaya and dharyat, with enthusiasm, determination and patience, things will manifest. The Lord will manifest. We cannot control the Lord, like we said, right? So the mantra, the Naam and the Namino are abhinnatvam, and only by the mercy of the Lord it will manifest. He will reveal. But we have to be patient. Maharaj used to say that, true patience is when we endeavor with enthusiasm and determination. We have to endeavor, even though there may be failures. Even failure after failure. If we continue to sincerely endeavor with enthusiasm, then that is the definition of patience. And when we do that, then the Lord is pleased and the acharyas are pleased, and then they will give their mercy. Then we'll get the taste in the holy name. Okay, anybody else would like to say anything, share anything? Today and tomorrow are our last 2 days for the remembrance of the Lord. First thing that we are doing of tasting the water and remembering the Lord. So please continue to do that, and also encourage others. I will also send a message again in the group. But I see, at least there are a lot of us who have been doing it, and many others who have not voted, but I know still are doing. So that is very nice. Again, slowly but steadily, with practice, we can remember the Lord more and more. Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else would like to say anything before we wrap up? All right, if nothing, then we'll pause here. Thank you so much for your kind association. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय. जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. श्रील teachings of Lord Kapila Dev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.